Leon Novembre, singer, keyboardist, live based in South Florida. Website, thekeyofleon.com. Instagram at Leon Check 2. That's Leon, spell the word check and then write the number 2.
Diversified game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I'm so excited to do this interview with Leon Novembre. Man, I met this guy just last week, and he said, "Yeah, I'm a musician." We look at his website; he's fully booked. I go to his Instagram; he has the crowd rocking in English or Espanol, and I was like, "Oh man, we gotta talk." We hope that we can maybe help him solve some problems, and being so busy, we could work with him in the future. But right now, I'm going to give you guys the game on how he started, sustained, and succeeds being a professional musician. Welcome to the show, Leon. Hope all is blessed with you.
Yes, thank you for having me, Kellen.
So let's get right into it for the musicians who say, man, you guys say he's fully booked, full shows on his website. Before we get into even how you started, you were telling me, what do you think the key is to being a professional musician? Let's start from where we were about to go to, and then we'll go back to the beginning. But you give me the game however you like.
Well, obviously, it's not just the skills, being able to sing or play your instruments, but it's about, how hard you work, building your repertoire, taking time to practice here or there, and making the right connections is key.
People hear that and they say, what do you mean? Do I need a booking agent? Do I need a publicist? Do I need a manager? What is that key so I can unlock the lock?
Me, I've done a majority of my bookings directly. I've only used agents if they work for specific companies, or maybe they have an agency that books for specific restaurants. For instance, let's say I play at a place called Mastro's Restaurants. They have locations all over the country, and it's an agency based out of Vegas that books players and performers for those restaurants.
Okay. And that makes sense. But you play everywhere. You play Mickey's. I think you're playing Mickey's today. Secrets Hideaway, Terrible Makers. You go all over. Um, a lot of people say, oh, you need a booking agent, which it's not easy to find like a really good booking agent. Um, was it out of necessity that you just had to learn to do it yourself, or did you not like the fees that, booking agents and other people take?
Well, I can speak for myself. Over the years, I got my gig life started after college. I started playing in dueling piano shows, and many of the colleagues I've met, some of them reached out to me directly, and I've also attended some conferences and conventions and met with people who are agents or even entertainment directors, and they all reached out to me directly, and they are not all in one location, which is how I've been able to go from booking local shows to shows in other states, shows on cruise ships. I've booked cruise contracts, and even some stuff overseas.
You've tried it your way and you're still in debt? Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter and grow faster? MillionaireX.ai gives you step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming, start planning. Visit MillionaireX.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Oh man, talk about that overseas, because when you talk about it, we got to mention Africa as well, but let them know overseas, because you've done some stuff, for the military which I was like, wow, I love to hear it.
Yes. So back in 2012, a colleague of mine had posted that um, a Camp Lemonnier, a naval base in Africa, it's the U.S. naval base. They were hosting some dueling piano shows, and they needed performers that were available and willing to do that one weekend. And I was flown out with two other dueling piano entertainers, and we each did two shows. We were in Djibouti for 4 nights, and we did two shows, but we also had to stay in Ethiopia, and we had a great time. It was with Pro Tour Productions, and it was a great experience getting to perform for those that were stationed in Africa and everyone and all the civilians that were there. I loved it, and I hope to do something like that again sometime.
Ethiopia, salam, salam. Just came back from there with a client about 2 months
Wow.
ago. Can you tell people when yeah, I assume you're in Addis, just because that's where everyone stops. But can you tell people more about Ethiopia? I have an audience who's international, and people love to hear like, wait, Ethiopia is not like the starving children commercials we saw in the 80s and 90s. Give your take on what you saw in your experience of Ethiopia.
Well, I did spend a night in Addis Ababa, and I was very taken aback. I think it was cool to see, a different type of culture and from what we were exposed to. And, you know, I I guess it was so long since I had been there but I hope to do something like that again. I didn't see too there might have been some poor, but I didn't but everyone seemed, that they were able to function. Everyone seemed like they were all getting along, and from what I saw, I didn't interact with a ton of people that were natives of the country, but everyone I saw, everyone seemed like they were able to manage. It's not like, I mean, there might have been some poverty here, but I think overall everyone was able to manage, and I think it was just, it was beautiful to experience.
And we know the poor you'll have with you always, wherever you go, even to your home city of Chicago or my home city of Oakland. But when you go to Addis, most people aren't going to see that unless you want to see it. I have seen it because I like to just kind of venture off. But the Addis right now is booming and popping. It looks like it could be any place in America, the way things are just being built up. And I'm told a lot of it is with Ethiopian money, not just Chinese money. So you guys travel so you can go see for yourself. Don't take our word for it. Just take it as a reference and
I
holler
agree.
if you need, yeah, holler if you need help. But I'm glad you had a good time. Now I know music is your life, but can you tell the people you, when did you know you were going to be a professional musician, and what was that first paid gig like? How old were you?
I think I knew that music was gonna be a part of my life when I was a child. Um, it was I was playing piano by ear even before I was able to speak, and singing was also a big thing. But I think I really kind of classified myself as a singer and as a musician at the age of 8. And I went on to college at University of South Florida in Tampa, USF for short. Got a voice degree, and I had taken the advice of my voice teacher in college, who one day said to me, he asked if I had thought about playing in piano bars because he knew that I played piano by ear and could sing. And a month or so after I earned my bachelor's degree, I stumbled upon an ad for a job for a piano bar entertainer at the Howl at the Moon that used to be located in Fort Lauderdale at the Beach Place Plaza back in 2008, although they closed like months or so later. But I officially got my start in the dueling piano world at a bar called 88, which was at the Hard Rock Plaza in 2009. And I was there for a year. And then I was a house player at a bar in Coconut Grove until they shut down. And ever since then, I've been freelancing. And, I think I like the freelancing aspect of my career just because staying in just one place, I've seen so many clubs and restaurants and bars close over the years that it's hard to get too comfortable.
Are you a successful entrepreneur or one in training? You've got the vision, but do you have the right partner to build your brand, your team, and your future online and off? At cprfirm.com, we offer expert consulting, financial guidance, and life coaching because we believe in doing life with our clients. After all, what is it for a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Founded by Callan Cash Coleman, we help our clients not only succeed but plan to retire rich. Your business deserves the best. Start building your legacy today at cprfirm.com.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so you know, there's a difference between learning how to play traditionally and then the business of it and getting booked. Were there any books or any programs that helped you? I know you mentioned your mentor, but anything that you can give a fellow musician so they can say, okay, I need to read that book, because sometimes people just want to be the talent. They just want to do their art. They don't want to handle the business.
I won't say that I read any book to help me, book gigs. It's just I've, just performed. For me, I just took my gigs, I played them, and I'm grateful that I was able to earn the respect from all the colleagues that I had met along the way and everyone that I had encountered. And then they would, many of them, it became a word of mouth thing. Many of them, they would reach out to me more so than I needed to reach out to them. And I think the right skill set and the right determination, I think sometimes if when you work hard enough and you have the right work ethic, sometimes the opportunities will fall into your lap more so than you need to reach out to them. Although continue to grind and continue making connections, find opportunities where you can network with others.
A lot of musicians, young and old, they have a trouble finding out how to value their art, their time, what it takes, online, offline, to put this production, all that together. How did you learn how to do that so you didn't undervalue yourself?
I guess I just knew what I was capable of, and I think it was just something in me that said to myself, I've always said, it's hard to find work doing what you don't want to do. So I just try to just stick to what I know and just have a belief in myself that with the connections I've had that I would be able to, find opportunities and or they'll come to me and everything will manifest accordingly.
Now, you're playing in this side of South Florida tonight. A day later or two, you might be on the other side at Troublemakers on the other side of Florida. And who knows, you could be in New York or wherever. When it's, interlocal inside of the state, do you prefer to drive, be driven, fly out? How do you like to travel when you have to?
If it were in state, if the gigs were possibly a couple hours, within a couple hours away from where I live, then it's like I could be on the ground. But say if I were to be booked for somewhere in the Panhandle, I could I could fly from Lauderdale Airport to Pensacola Airport, perhaps. Spirit has flights for that, and I have done so before. Actually, I was flown out to play in a bar in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, a year or so ago, and I might be potentially doing something like that again later this year, or possibly next. So it depends on the location, the distance from my home, and also just making sure that I'm able to make it to the city or the town where I'm booked to perform in a timely fashion.
Is there a minimum? I have people on my team who say, look, we don't open up our computers for $1,000 if they want us to do something. So we're not even talking about it. And I know there's musicians who say, look, it just depends on the opportunity because I might play and, Dave Chappelle might be there with Common, which he was in Ohio just a few weeks ago with us. Like Dave Chappelle wasn't playing to come, but he decided to come because, Common is his friend. Quali is his friend. Who else was there? And he just lives down the street from where, the concert was in Columbus. So you never know. But when you're pricing things out, are there minimums that you have, or it just kind of depends on the gig?
It depends on the gig. Many of the many of the opportunities that I've received, the prices are already set. Like the client will already say what they're paying, and sometimes they'll have a travel budget for the performers. There are many other places where I've performed where I was provided with lodging, or I might have been provided with a room. But like I said, it all boils down to the opportunity.
Hello, everyone. Join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney will take you to explore Cameroon, heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature, and traditions from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Join the Cameroonian food, music, and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and through your library and bookstores here in Grand Spark. Don't miss this adventure.
I want to know, as a musician and the dueling piano and being able to rock cruise ships and military, what haven't you done that you want to accomplish in your career?
I'll say there are I'll say there are places that I'd like to perform. I have bucket list locations that I'd like to perform, such as New York City. I would love to perform maybe in places like Nashville, or even SoCal, or somewhere specifically either in Europe or on an island. I've worked on ships sailing the Mediterranean or the Caribbean, but it would be interesting to actually have an opportunity to perform somewhere in those countries or in those islands. And I sometimes think about, what it would be like to perform in a place like Carnegie Hall or something like that.
Okay, okay. Now, there are over like 200 dueling piano bars in the US. And I had mentioned one to you that when I found out what the dueling piano bar was in Austin decades ago, and I'm like, this is so just dope. Live music, guys coming out of the crowd playing. And it was like, this is what music is about. Is there a circuit or even a booking agency that only handles that and keeps abreast of, where these places are so you can, be found by them or pitch them?
What I do is I'll seek opportunities if there are places that are in need of performers for any of the dueling shows. I'll look to see if the venues host freelancing entertainers or if they host players that are regulars, like they're on staff, like weekly. Like for instance, for instance, Pete's Dueling Pianos, which I'm sure is the one in Austin that you spoke of. They hire people that are committed to being full timers. But many of the places I perform, they're very freelancer friendly. Like I could do a weekend or so, or maybe one night doing a dueling piano show at that place. But like, but then again, like a lot of times of the year, I'm booked in other venues. And, both like all venues, they have different methods as far as, how they book their entertainment.
Mhm. Okay. With I ask everybody what their community give back is, and I want to know, if you have one that you're doing or that you'd like to do. But I'd also like to know, even if it's like mentoring someone else, in that. So two-part question. And the second part is in the mentorship. And what's that, first mindset shift you have to work out if you've ever mentored someone yet? So community give back and mentoring. That's the
You
question.
know, I would love to find I would love to find or be a part of any program that mentors kids and teens that might aspire to have a career in arts, whether they want to be musicians, whether they want to act, because art is it's still very relevant in society, regardless how many schools cut arts programs. I do feel that there are plenty of kids out there that love and appreciate music. They love I once went to a party where there were a lot of families, and like almost every child or teen that I saw was playing an instrument. One of my friends was hosting a party and he had a drum set up. He had a keyboard set up. There was a guitarist. Like a lot of these kids were young, and I think it all boils down to how well they're being raised. And I do think that even if there are programs being cut from schools, I still think it is important that that cities and counties have places for kids that are interested in singing or dancing, playing an instrument, acting. And I think those are skills that can help them in other aspects of life. I think someone can take acting classes or lessons in how to play an instrument, even if they don't necessarily want to pursue a career in those fields. I mean, an undercover police officer can learn how to act, you know, if they want to go undercover, or if someone wants to learn how to sing just so that they can so they can sing a lullaby to their child and sound okay. Maybe they just want to sing in it. Maybe they just want to be booked to sing or perform the anthem for an event. They don't have to go into being, a like a celebrity or anything like that.
Okay, okay. And what about community givebacks that you are doing or some other things you may want to do?
Well, I know, I know I'm interested in maybe being a part of communities giving back to arts. I've thought about maybe devoting some time to maybe maybe nonprofits that might be reaching out to kids that are interested in music. And also, me being a Haitian American, I would love to do stuff for those in Haiti that are affected by, anything such as natural disasters or even poverty. My mother, she used to tell me stories about all the charity and service that she used to do while she was growing up in Haiti before she moved to the States. So I think a lot of that is inspiring as well.
Okay, okay. And have you been to Haiti ever or even recently?
Well, I've only been to Labadee, the private island that is owned by Royal Caribbean, but as far as like places like Port-au-Prince, like the actual country itself, I never had the chance to visit. I mean, I would be open to the opportunity if it came and everything that's going on can simmer down, or at least if I'm in hands of people that can are protective forces, then I would love to actually travel to Haiti someday. Hopefully, I know it won't happen soon, but maybe someday there will be you know, a greater sense of peace, and I think it would be a great opportunity for me, and I would love to, help give back to those communities.
You guys, let me show you guys the audience something because you got to speak life. And I told you guys from the beginning, I want to work with Leon, and I'm going to say Leon speak life because it could happen sooner than you think. Because you've already been to, the private island, but there's also OCAP that is very safe. I just had a client last year spend at least 3 months in Haiti, and so this is how you pitch yourself, you guys, to show value. Because I could see doing a show in OCAP, going to the safer places. Now, maybe the capital is not the safest, and I get it, but we can work our way around there as well as working our way here in Florida, finding programs for you to be a mentor in, whether it's a one-off or continual thing. But, you have the Miami Music Project and you have the Talented Teen Club, which I am a contributor. I was actually, Leon, the last philanthropist of the year at the Talented Teen Club. And they're always looking for speakers who can give different insights so the kids can be mentored and see somebody who's living their dream. So we definitely can do that one. But I'm telling you guys, you got to put your shot in and show your value because Leon's already winning. He's winning and I'm winning at what I do. So it's like, when you guys come together and we build teams, dreams come true and they become bigger. Leon, let me ask, you don't have a lot of YouTube out there. Is that, just because you're so busy with shows and everything else in life, are you working on some stuff, maybe even a personal video and your own, albums and songs?
I think so much of how I live my life it's just I do shows, but I never find any time I never devote time to, okay, here's when I want to, create footage. Here's when I want to visit a studio to record anything. And I think those are things that I need to do more of. When I do my shows, I might find moments when I'm at the shows that I try to, videotape myself or have someone videotape me, and then I'll try to find some footage to post online. I do realize that I need to be better at, creating and uploading more content, showcasing my skills. But I'm glad for what I've posted up online right now.
Okay. I know we had talked about, I said, hey, get a cheap tripod, Amazon, wherever you get it, Walmart, put two there. So they got the two action camera. They catch you, maybe you put a third or something. Maybe you got, the glasses who knows? But putting something there, putting it in the cloud, and then letting the experts do what they do, so you can just focus on what you do. And having something, because with AI and everything, I mean, we got AI songs already. We got AI videos already. There's full AI channels that allows your content to grow and hopefully get some money while you're sleeping, is always the goal, if not helping you with your next gig, your next clients. Where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? And you talked about the destinations you'd love to hit. Are there any other new ventures that you want to get into?
Um, I think in the next 5 years, I hope to maybe be in a position where I'm, making music because I want to and not so much because I have to. I want to I do want to continue performing as long as I can, but I would love to get to a point where I'm finding ways to maybe do stuff outside of performing, and it could be with music in the sense that I'm, part of programs that help develop or bring together more entertainers. I would love to do something to help if there were a way that R&B could be more, there'd be more R&B, popular amongst America. That would be great. I do think that I I don't think R&B is completely out. There might not be as many heavy hitters as there were, say, when you or I grew up. Like in the '90s, we were blessed with the likes of, say, SWV or Keith Sweat or Boyz II Men. And, we all knew Mariah Carey before she became the queen of Christmas. She was the queen of, the chart queen. She had a number one hit in the '90s every single year. And, she's back now. But I do think that I would love to see more love in music. I feel like there needs to be more romance that is popular amongst the music. I would love to see actual human life in music creation and not just not everything just be technology. That's what I hope to help see. I would love to see something like that.
I love it. I love it. And we hope love is coming back, because people got to understand, you can't go so far alone in life. I don't care if you're a plumber, if you are working at, as a cashier. You need teams. You need teams. You need people that can show you, teach you some things, pull you up. And so, yeah, we need that. And you might need to do it in more than one language. One thing about you, when I was surfing through your LinkedIn, I thought I had a lot of certifications, and I'm a Duolingo. I think I'm on my 267th day or something like that. But you are the king. I mean, French, Italiano, Espanol. How many languages, are you comfortable speaking in? Because I couldn't even go down the whole list. So give us the game. You're talented, for real.
Well, I'll say the languages that I'm most comfortable speaking are Creole and a little bit of French. I can sing in those languages, and I can sing in Italian and Spanish and German, because when I studied classical singing in college, I had to study opera and art songs. So, the main languages were English, French, Italian, German, and I even had to sing pieces in Latin, Spanish, and even some Russian, and even Polish, because I once traveled to Poland, and I did a choir tour when I was in college. We did a choral festival in the town of Międzyzdroje, and we also performed in the town of Szczecin.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, yeah, and so you can you're multi genre, and I think how K-pop, basically is hip hop, just with their twist, their language, and I can't wait for it to intermerge with like Afro beats and everything else, and just have one like worldly concert where you got all these genres. Because I really don't like genres, even though I have my own playlist, but I don't like genres. I just like good music.
Right.
Could you ever see something, or you ever heard something where you've seen people just mix and mash in a concert or in an album, and you're like, this is what music is, or is it yet to be made?
I think I think back to when Run DMC and Aerosmith combined forces. And but even before that, you know, Blondie, they were the first amongst like the first mainstream act to incorporate rapping with their song with their hit record Rapture. I do think the great thing about music is that it's not just like a one thing, there it's one of the most universal things, and there's always opportunity for styles and genres to intermix. As we've mentioned in the examples that I've spoken of, I love. I think it's pretty interesting how even country has incorporated styles like hip hop, like rapping and EDM. You know, uh, even like when we had the record Cotton Eye Joe, but then after Avicii came out with the record Wake Me Up, I think it really did kick the door down. So, and it's I think the country scene has become a little more inclusive as far as incorporating genres, I will say. So, I but I think that's also beautiful. Like it's kind of like painting a canvas. You see so many shades. It's all about how everything is mixed or put together and presented to the world.
And it's art. And I know Beyonce just tried somebody, any controversy makes hits. I mean, somebody probably drunk, on stage, country guy, and he's not the only one talking about Beyonce stuff isn't country, but we created or had a big hand to doing country, however you want to see that historically. But a lot of country has become rap. And I've heard it, and I'm like, they're rapping, and no one ever says too much about that, right? And I've seen Aryan Brotherhood guys rapping, and I've seen cholos rapping at the same time saying we don't work with black folks, and that's fine. To each his own. Got the local consultema. You do what you want to do, but we created this music. It's hot because of black culture. It's hot because of African drums. Whatever you want to say. And so it's always funny when you hear stuff like that, you just brush it off and like, oh, they want to go viral. Or, well, what are your thoughts when you hear artists talking about other artists while they might be doing the same thing, in the studio?
I mean, I think sometimes it might be a little hypocritical. I think sometimes it is just, you know, it could be a jealousy thing. It's just like let's just put down the popular person. I look at I kind of, but it's just one of those things. Like I've had to learn to kind of brush it off. I mean, I knew somebody like Beyonce wouldn't get enough of the respect that she deserved for putting out a country album and then winning best country album at the Grammys. So the Recording Academy decides to divide the country album category because of all of that. But I felt like a lot of people were saying that somebody like Jason Aldean wouldn't be, you know, traditional country. They think of traditional country like George Jones and Alan Jackson and Johnny Cash. But I one person who once said to me, I think they said that, country before the likes of, say, Garth Brooks changed. I think a lot more country artists became incorporated more of like a stadium friendly type of sound or type of vibe. But even before that in the 80s, a lot, I think, they country artists started having crossover success, but they stayed some more or so true to themselves. Like Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, they that in the 80s, that's when, they started developing more mass appeal, even though I think something about them that they stayed as pure to the country, I guess, culture as necessary.
But there's also, just like all genres of music, there's categories of country. And, outlaw country, most people are like, what's outlaw? I'm like, that can get as dirty and as grimy as any rap song ever. And, they'll say, we were here first. And I'm like, well, did you hear those licks? Or when you hear, I remember hearing Luther Lackey for the first time in Shreveport, and he's a blues singer, and he had a song. I was at Grambling by then, single as can be, and your dog ate my cat. And I was watching him while he was doing that. Blew my mind. Because I said, here you have it could have been played in the church until you got to them last lyrics, and you're like, hold on, what did he just say? And Luke had nothing on him. Two Live Crew had nothing on him. Probably where, and those things are influenced by. But shout out to Luther Lackey. I'm a true fan, and he's awesome. But when you hear and you really know, you studied music, so it's different when you're listening to stuff, right? Like, do you even think layman's end users, as we call them in tech, should be able to have their own show and criticize? They can't play one note usually. It's like sports people who have never played on the ball, but you never played the game. How can you criticize? What are your thoughts on people who can't play an instrument, can't read music, never played the violin, the saxophone, or anything, and then they have everything to say and people actually listen to them? What are your thoughts?
I think, people will do what, when you give someone a platform, that, who knows what they'll do with it. But sometimes it's like, not everyone in the audience, you could be performing at a concert, but not everyone in the audience is a musician or an actor either. So it's like, but I think you just kind of have to take people's words with a grain of salt. But if you were, say, an athlete, if you have your coaches, you have your mentors, and it's like, what you know, but you can just stay a student of the game, and just be authentic and have integrity, and just continue to grind. And I think success will speak volumes, and what you do behind the scenes will translate. And the same way, if you look at a gold medalist at at the Olympics, it's like, you not only focus, it's not just about, how skilled they are, but it's also about, what are the things they're doing when they're not, practicing, when they're not training. It's like, what do they eat? What do they listen to? What are their hobbies? What are something that they try to do, to prepare themselves, or what do they do in between, the Olympics? That's what I can say.
Okay. Now, you had talked about doing music and not having to do music, but wanting to do music. Do you have any plans, whether it's an album where you know have a dueling piano album. Maybe you're dueling yourself even, right? Because one side, this is my raw side, this is my more traditional side. Do you have any plans so when you do go to shows, people can download your music? Even, you know, I don't know if anyone still has the CD player. Soon we'll just have chips to put in our brain and that will play. But like, where do you see, you know, you producing, or maybe it's a book or public speaking? Any plans for any of that? Your own, you know, putting more time into a podcast even. What could we expect next from you?
What you can expect, I would love, I think aside from performing, I think I want to I look to return to maybe perform to getting in the studio and maybe collaborating on some projects that maybe other artists or producers might be working on, and maybe just really trying to figure out, and maybe just trying to, decide how I want to create original music. And I feel like I have so much that I want to say that I that is worth putting in songs, but it's just a matter of me organizing my thoughts musically, and putting it out there in a way that I feel does it justice.
Are you a perfectionist when it comes to putting your own music out?
I Yes, I think I am. I think I sometimes can be my worst critic, but I think I've opened up more to the idea of collaborating with others. If I were to create any songs for myself to record, I'm a little more open to the idea of collaborating with others, maybe incorporating some tools that have come to fruition nowadays, but just making sure that I put as much of myself into the project as possible, so that all the work so that like 70% of the work or so is not done for me.
Mm, okay, okay. So we're gonna work on that perfectionist because you guys, all you know, creatives out there, if we wait for perfection, by the time we get there, we won't see it. We won't see the fruits of our labor, and people have to see us grow. You know, and people are gonna catch it. They might catch it late, but they might catch it now. And so you might have the next sound like that Teddy Riley, you know, that New Jack Swing that people are waiting for, but you're holding on to it. Release your babies out there. Let's see what's going on, because I could see you doing even like an award show here in Florida. And what do we really need for that? People say, yeah, we need a venue. And yeah, we need a venue, but it doesn't have to be the biggest venue to start. It could be at a home. It could be, you know, outside for all I know. And I know that's kind of hard to do with music, but it's not impossible. My question for you with the dueling piano, do you always have to have those big pianos, or can you bring out the keyboards and some speakers and get a similar sound and vibe? Or does it always have to be in one of those, you know, cramped, tight rooms and people have their drinks and that's where you get the best vibe for that?
Like, I'm open to just using a keyboard and a mic and, a speaker or PA. I think it's just I is like I've used keyboards for gigs before, and it's they do the job. I know how to play, and people have said great things about my singing, and it's like I bring the melody, and I try to bring the vibe of the song to life. And then sometimes I take risks with the songs, but for the most part, I tend to, when I get a request for a song, I tend to stay true to the melody, and give the people what they appreciate.
Mm. Think this will be my last question because I want to save something for when Joe Rogan and others come. But you could play music by ear at a young age, but you still went to school for music. What did school help you with learning music? Do you think that you know, most people need to go to school if they want to be a professional artist? Because some people say, I play by ear. I don't need any help. I'm an artist. I'm the greatest of all time. Die line, and die line. Give us your thoughts on, school and music.
I would not be where I am today if it weren't for my schooling. Well, not everyone had to go to school to be a performer. I mean, I'm grateful for the education that I had and all the mentoring and all the teachers that I did. I had great mentors in whether it be through middle school, even up through when I graduated college. I would not have been performing in the venues that I had performed had I not met my voice teacher in college, who once said to me, "Have you ever thought about playing in piano bars?"
Gotcha. I love it. I love it. And I love that you guys tuned in to the end. I know most of you are listeners on Apple and Podbean, but go over to the YouTube, give it some love, give it a like, give it a share. It helps us across all platforms get there and grow. This is to help you show how other people have succeeded. And so you can share that with someone, because everybody has dreams. Very few people want to work a 9-to-5 for 30 years and retire. You guys want to make things happen, and you wanted to do it fast in this time. So please, besides the love you give it on the podcast, go over to the YouTube as well and make sure that you look in the description, because I'm going to have Leon's website. He put time to put a website together so you can catch him live. Maybe you'll even catch him live stream, because we're going to talk after this. You guys have seen the advertisement throughout this interview. Go to millionairex.ai. Go learn how to get out of debt, learn how to invest and save, so you too can live your dreams. Till next time, you guys, make sure you share this game with someone. It'll change their life. It's a family business. It's different. Be blessed.
Are you tired of the violence, tired of the injustice, police brutality, rampant discrimination, lack of gun control in this failed bias socioeconomic experiment called America? Or maybe you need a break from the relentless grind and want to regain control of your destiny, your wealth, your health, and your purpose. DiversifiedGame.com has the right course for you. Prepare for my first trip to Africa. Looking to reconnect with your roots, start a new business, or just a fresh start. Africa, aka the motherland, is waiting. Don't let the Chinese and the Mzungus have the fun and also take over the motherland. From Cairo to Mombasa, from Dakar to Cape Town, Africa has something for everyone, from business opportunities to the most amazing people, safety, leisure, and landscapes. The opportunities abound. It is time for the diaspora to reconnect with their roots. Time to reconnect with the birthplace of humanity. Africa is the last frontier. Get your head in the game and reclaim your legacy. The writing is on the wall. Babylon is falling. Give up the stress, grind, and violence inflicted on our people on this continent, and prepare for a journey of restoration and joy by connecting with the land of your ancestors. Check out our new course and kick off your adventure at diversifiedgame.com.